Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Art Explorers. Let's get into this video. But before we start, I just want to show you guys something really cool. This is my website, yoniepicart.com, and this is actually the video, the piece that we're going to be looking at today, cool.jpg, is actually a print that you can buy for 30 bucks. Okay, now let's get back into the video, bros. All right, cool.jpg. Let's analyze a little bit. Why don't you? Now, what was going through my mind as I created this piece? Let's think about that. All right. Now we got a center figure, which would be on the main horizontal, which also happens to be in the center of the piece. And this is kind of the most important thing to do. The first thing, this is a very important thing to do, is to to establish the dominant vertical and the dominant horizontal. So we have the dominant horizontal, which is of the figure, and then we also have this dominant, I would say, horizontal, which is the far background, the far distance mountains. So immediately now it's broken down into four quadrants. Now that's simple enough, right? That's pretty helpful, I guess. I don't really know. I mean, it establishes some nice compositional elements to further break it down and progress and be better at art. Obviously, that's an important thing. You got to be better at art. That is a tough thing and it's an important thing. It creates like now that we've established that, it's kind of doing what our unconscious brain, we can consciously see what our unconscious is kind of processing. So now we know that unconsciously we're getting drawn to this point because it is where the dominant vertical and the dominant horizontal get attracted. So it's a very important it's important to keep that in mind. You don't necessarily have to do anything with that knowledge, but just having the knowledge in your vicinity of thought is good. It's good. It helps. Taking your pieces and analyzing it like this is helpful. Now, what did I do? How did I create the head? Let's start like dissecting the body a bit. It looks like you could break this down into a cylinder, and just simply like that, kind of looking like Homer Simpson, which is pretty obvious. I even gave him like the Homer Simpson hair pretty much. So that's helpful. Having a shape association is very important. I just broke down his head into a simple cylinder, and that's gonna make, I mean, that just makes everything feel a lot more solid. Just having a clear, concise shape, and the best shapes to use, to always have in mind is a cube, very solid cubes, spheres, which also pretty much can be circles. You really make it known that it's a sphere through shading and things like that. But I mean, this by itself is it can be considered a ball, but it's also a circle. Then you also have cylinders, which it could they so a cylinder could be just rounded off like that, and then I like to just do like I like to just add a little bit of shading just to make sure, like it's easier to visualize it that way. And then we also have a cone, which is a very important shape as well. And that's just a circle on the floor with two lines connecting into a point. And so, I mean, these are very important shapes to keep in your mind. And the nice thing about them is that they all can be fitted into a cube. So if I drew a, a box that was kind of tall like that, and then I kind of go through the lines, do my X-ray vision, my super secret art hack X-ray vision, and now I turn the top plane into a circle. I turn this bottom plane into a circle. And I connect them. Now I have a cylinder. You always understand boxes. Understanding a box is one of the best things because every single shape fits inside of a box. Think about a pizza. All right, you buy a pizza, they're gonna deliver it in a box. Then that inside fits a circle, and then inside the circle fits triangles. But it all is able to fit inside of a box. Remember that, folks. Remember that, folks. Squares and boxes are your best friends. You can break anything down into that shape. You could break down every single complex shape that you got into a cube. Like I mean, if I really wanted, I could just instead of breaking it down into a more complicated shape, which is a cylinder, I could just break this down into a cube, and I get the exact same. I get the exact same effect, pretty much. I now have three shapes, three sides, which through perspective, you only able to see three sides at one time, unless you're going to something like more cubism or something where you're able to see a bunch of perspectives at once. But generally, with regular perspective, you're only going to be able to see three sides of the cube. So don't get mixed up, don't get confused. You're only seeing three, and you have to choose which three you're going to be seeing. Visualize it in your head. Know that you're going to either be seeing the right side or the left side. You're going to see the bottom or the top. Whether you're looking down at it or above at it. And and you can also only see and then you can also only see one, which is when it's like 1 point perspective, where you're just doing 2D shapes, or you can also even only just see two of them, where it's like the top of the box would be at the horizon line, and you can't see the bottom, but you can see a side, and you can see a box where it's like kind of off to the angle. You get the point. Studying perspective, very good. Studying boxes, extremely important. So I could pretty much break this entire body down into a bunch of boxes, and it would be very insightful. And I would suggest doing this to any masters artist. I'm not a master, but it's just for me it's helpful to break down your own drawings as well, the way that you would do like master copies. So like, I would say get like a Da Vinci or something like that and break down some of his characters into boxes, and then you'll freaking understand how much of a genius that guy was. Now, obviously, I'm like a low grade genius compared to Da Vinci. He was like high caliber genius. I'm like low caliber genius, but I'll get there, dog. So were you. You guys, I'm like a low grade genius, which means that you guys are like high grade intelligentsia, which doesn't exactly reach the grade of low grade genius yet. But you can get there if you just keep watching my vids. Once I graduate to high grade genius, you guys will graduate to low grade genius, and then you can start training your own high grade intelligentsia to become low grade genius, so that you can move up to the ranks of high grade genius. Which you may think that then you'll be finally caught up with me, but no, there's actually like a billion secret levels that you guys don't even know about yet, above high grade genius, and I'm trying to get there. So I mean, you guys can be happy with high grade genius, whatever. I mean, I'm gonna keep crushing it and keep fighting for a new position. I don't really care that much, you know what I mean? But anyways, so whoa. Uh, so then we also just got some basic anatomy here. We can see this is the point of the rib cage ending. This is good spot, good spot. And then I kind of now you normally there would be more of a curve in this section here, like so. But because I don't know, but then that's the point, is that with art you get to choose when you make an angular an angle or a freaking curved. You can choose what kind of lines you like, and it's good to switch it up. It's good to sometimes have an object have some curved lines and some straight lines. It's good to mix it up and to like incorporate the two of them, because that's how you really make things look good. That's how you make things look good, is having a good balance of all the fundamentals that you have accrued. And so then coming off of him, you got the pit of the neck here, which is, this part right there, where, yeah. And then this was kind of like a problem that I was having about with the anatomy, is that I kept putting the collarbones too far out for the past couple months, and now recently like I started realizing, wait a second, no, the collarbone was actually like right next to the pit of the neck. It's all of the like, you got the sternocleidomastoids right here, which come down from behind the ears, and they all connect up into the pit of the neck, and then you got the collarbones right here, which go sprawl off into connecting to the scapula, which is a bone from the back of the rib cage, which connects. So they kind of form like a they kind of form like a cup, which holds the ball of the humerus, which is the upper arm bone, and so that all kind of connects up into this shoulder area, which then you have the deltoid, which kind of is the muscle, which is the shoulder muscle, which kind of envelops it, and you got the trapezius coming down from the neck right here. So this is the trapezius. Then this would be so you got we you I would pretty much I was saying that pretty much right here would be like the ball of the freaking of the humerus, and I was kind of displaying that then it would go down here into where you get the radius and the ulna, which is the two bones of the lower arm. And then in it's the thing is that a lot of the stuff I'm doing is not accurate, obviously, in this drawing because no human being has ever looked like this ever. uh, but it's fun to do creative things, you know? So like I'm making this bicep not just like, the way that a regular bicep looks. I'm not, and greatly exaggerating how much the bicep can come off, especially in the unflexed position. I'm pretty much giving him like a flexed bicep and a relaxed arm. He's not flexing anything right now. Then I come down and just building the way that I like to do it is that I think that as long as I have like a solid shape that just looks nice and has good line quality to it, then that's all that's the more important thing. Not necessarily having the most perfect anatomy or copying forms exactly or anything like that. I think a lot of times when I'm drawing, I like to just have nice shapes that just fit into each other and just look good on their own, kind of combining into great larger shapes like this. So then I have like an egg shape here, and I have, kind of a whatever this shape is. It's just a complex. Complex shapes don't necessarily a complex shape is something that would fit into like multiple categories. Like we wouldn't just be a cube or a sphere. It could be like a cube and a sphere merged into something, which is kind of what this is. It's got like a top platform which is kind of like rounded, and then it's got a more angular cubic side there, and then we kind of come down, and I'm infusing my knowledge of anatomy as best as I can because I know that there is a muscle called supinator. I think it's called supinator longus, which is right here, which is this muscle here. So I'm allowing that to inform the shapes that I'm making. So it's not just like, oh, I'm just randomly drawing this shape here. It's like I know that that shape loosely does exist on the human body. So I'm going to, emphasize it in a sense. Like I'm going to emphasize it by making a shape that it's not how it looks. It's not how, it's the ratio, the proportion of it is off, and it's not actually doesn't look like it's actually serving much function or purpose. But it's like it just aesthetically, I think it looks good, and that's very important. And then obviously we come down to the hands and using surrealistic methods, I made it kind of look like a dolphin tail or something instead. Which is the dolphin tails and whale tails are very interesting things to study, analyze, think about. They're very cool. And so then you can kind of look at uh, this other arm, and it's like cylinder here with the deltoid kind of all the muscles kind of interlock with each other and stuff like that. It's not like just like they're not just like next to each other. They actually lock in and really secure to each other. And I mean, fascinating mechanically. Very interesting to examine. Um, then we just got that. Whatever. It's just all freaking stupid little things that I just thought looked good at the time. Then we get a cool little line that comes down. Cylindrical and just a large cylinder just for his legs. That's just a large cylinder that I then broke down into tinier shapes to make it look like legs with jeans. Yeah. And so I mean I think that's pretty much how the body would be broken down. You can then, if you really want, you could go take it further and then look at all the way that I place the features on his face and the ears, and then you got this. Well, you have that's the thyroid and the Adam's apple here that goes down to the pit of the neck, and you got the muscles right here, which are a lot of them control your tongue. Actually, I believe I think a lot of the muscles under here are responsible for all your tongue movements, like that, and you can feel it. Like it's really good to feel the muscles when you do things like that. Like like feel under here and move your tongue around, and you can feel that there are muscles contracting and pulling things, and then that allows you because the idea is that function is what creates form, not form creating function. So if you understand the function of something, if you understand the function of why this muscle is here and why it's connected to this bone, it's connected to, and then it's also connected to this other bone, and what exact purpose that's fulfilling, then whatever purpose that it's fulfilling, that is why it is shaped the way that it is shaped, because that is the only shape that it could possess really to perform that function properly. And so that's kind of the logical holding that you need to have in order to properly understand anatomy, especially. But I mean, then it goes with everything, because it's like it's the same when a human creates a man-made object or something like that. It has a function to serve. You know, there's like a reason. There's like a conscious, logical reason for why something is shaped the way that it's shaped. Then we can kind of look at the background, and I just simply did 3 layers of background here. So I have like foreground land, which is this, beigeish mass. Then I kind of got, like, midground, which is this purple, and then I got background, which is this, light green, and then it goes into the sky. So that gives like a bit of depth to have, recurring patterns that your eyes can follow through the piece is very helpful, especially for if you're trying to get depth, like having an element that you can easily repeat. Like if you have, let's say that you have like I could have even done this. I could have had the human, like the human element, this figure could have had a, one this in this foreground. Then I could have made a smaller one of him like over here, and then I could have made a really tiny one over there. And now your brain is able to deduce that, okay, I know what the size of this object is when it's this close to me. So now if this object is repeating this far away at this distance, then I know that this is very far away. I know how far away this is now. So I know what the relative relationship of the sizes are now, and I understand that this is going further back in space. Uh, so as well as color. If you're working with color can help a lot because of atmosphere. Colors will shift more blue and a little lighter the further back into space you go. Um, then so with everything I was trying to do, you know, more gradual, shaded, more subtle and stuff like that. Like this area here, more shadow, yeah. And then this area, I did like very high contrast, high vibrancy colors, And I'm not exactly sure why. I just think that it looks cool. That's about it. A lot of stuff that I used to do was like very high vibrancy and like just a pattern based. So sometimes I like to just infuse a pattern. It's abstract, but it's if you're gonna be doing abstract, make sure think of everything in patterns. Think of it as a pattern. It wasn't just mindlessly coloring in different spheres. I was thinking about a rhythm and a flow. I was like, well, it goes from like red to blue to red. You see that? Like here. When I drew this, then I was like, okay, that's red. And now I'm gonna do a pattern where it's like now it goes from red to blue, then to red, then the blue, then to red again. You know. Uh, then there's a blue here, then a red, then a color in between, which is also kind of blue, and then back to red. I can't uh I can't necessarily say I remember all the patterns of every single part of this, but the fact is that it's like subconsciously it is your brain can see it, and it's much better to consciously decide on what the patterns are while you're making the piece. You don't have to remember all the information. I made this piece I think a few months ago, and I don't necessarily remember all of the decisions that I made. But the fact is that I would say that 80% of it is like conscious decisions of like me knowing what I wanted out of the piece, not just like mindless, And the it's a pretty cool thing. But thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Art Explorers. It was new kind of thing because we were exploring my piece and not just some other random losers drawing or painting. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. Thanks for watching, guys.